What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I'm going to take a stab at the story. Video Game Chronicles was writing it today that a developer claims many studios are asking Xbox to drop mandatory Series S compatibility. And what this basically goes into is, well, over the last, I'd say, week or two, really because of Gotham Knights, the 30 frames per second thing has really taken the internet by storm, right? You're having, really, for everybody that says, hey, the Series S is kind of the problem, you have somebody else that says, no, that's not true. Like, you have to optimize for the lowest end kind of PC as well, so that's not exactly true either. But for every one, there's another. And this pretty much comes out. Now, people are picking on this developer. I think he made his account private, so that's not, fantastic. It's also not fantastic to attack the guy. But there was a guy, who, this is what the story is about, who worked on the game I Am Fish, and it came out last year. It came out on the Series S, X, and PC. And he basically said it might, well, actually, let's just read it word for word. It might sound broken, but the reason you are hearing it a lot right now is because many developers have been sitting in meetings for the past year, desperately trying to get Series S launch requirements dropped. Studios have been through one development cycle where Series S turned to be an albatross around the neck of production, and now the games are firmly being developed with new consoles in mind. Teams do not want to repeat the process. And then again, his tweets were publicly available earlier today, but have since been protected so that only approved followers can see them. So, you have people going after him where it's like, well, your game kind of sucked, or your game had bad frame rate in the first place, all these different attacks on this guy, and maybe some are valid. And I'm not going after, I'm not even going to touch really that story beyond saying that. I never played the game, I didn't even know the game existed. It really just goes back to what I said in the beginning. It seems like for every person, because remember, there was that guy who came out with when Gotham Knights, the 30 frames per second, that basically said it's the Series S's fault. And the guy works at Rocksteady, so it's in the same even family, of developers. And again, that kind of kickstarted. So he just flat out said, like, hey, it's kind of the Series S's fault. And then, for every one of him, there's somebody else that said that's not even remotely true. But it's been this very interesting back and forth. And, look, I'm not a tech guy. I don't know. Also, I don't have the Series S. I have the Series X. So just to make that kind of all very clear to anybody who maybe was a little confused, I will say this, right? If it is true, that's not great. If literally what he's saying is true, and look, he would be one to know. Now, maybe if another developer comes out and says no meetings have ever happened where developers were mad, basically, at Microsoft, you could have that. But if this guy's telling the truth and there's a bunch of developers basically saying, hey, Series S is kind of an issue here, which I will be honest, it makes sense for the simple fact that the Series S is not the Series X, right? They're not the same thing. The Series S is basically optimized towards different things, and it's optimized to make it cheaper so that you can buy it. The Series S, right, is outselling in many places around the world the Series X. So that's also an issue too, right? If this guy's telling the truth, the Series S is holding things back, and just in general, but it's the most popular of the two. So if Microsoft kind of says, they bend the knee, right, and they say, all right, you don't have to make it for Series S. Maybe you do. Maybe within 6 months, it has to come out on Series S. But for launch, if you only did it on Xbox Series X, that's fine. If you did that, honestly, from Microsoft's point of view, you'd be losing however many, a chunk of your player base that has the S but not the X. That is an issue that I think is kind of, I'm not picking on them. I'm not saying, that they deserve to be burned to the ground. I'm simply saying when you have two different consoles that are optimized slightly different, it would make, these kind of situations does make sense that it would possibly occur. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens. But again, for every one that says it's an issue, there's one that says it's not. I respect the Series S for what it is. Again, I don't have one, but the fact of, it's pretty much a next-gen console. It can do a lot of those things, and it's cheaper, so people, that's kind of your entryway, right? That's kind of what people were saying going, in the past couple of years was, hey, if you need to get any of these three, you don't have the money, maybe because of, the stuff around the world or the economy or whatever. If you're strapped for cash, go get a Series S. It's still next-gen. It's the least next-gen of the three, but it is next-gen, and games come out on it, so why not? And it's cheap, so why not get it? And that's, I mean, that's a very good thing. Like, there's nothing really wrong about that. Now, again, behind the scenes, if that slows down games, if that makes it more difficult to create games, that is an issue. And the guy even kind of says it on Twitter, but it is interesting to bring up. Like, this probably, I mean, this has happened before. It's kind of just like, I guess how he's saying it is like, we finally get out of this, like, era. Well, first we had to make it for Series S, which could have been a problem, but we also had to make it for PS4 and Xbox One. Now that we're finally done with that, right, we don't have to do that. We can just make it for next gen. And by the way, I guess he's not talking for himself there, because I Am Fish doesn't look like it came out on Xbox One. So that's an important thing to say. But you know what I mean? He's like, well, we just got done with these last gen stuff, and now we're only on next gen, but we still have one that's kind of lagging behind that we have to make the games, optimized for, and that's slowing game development down. So it's becoming a problem, and we just got out of our last problem. I could get that if that's true. I could. Here's the thing: if it's true, it's a big problem, and hopefully Microsoft kind of addresses it. Maybe the mid-gen refresh where you get the PS5.5 and another 2 Xbox consoles, like maybe that would solve the issue, but I don't really think it would, right? Because you still have to make it for the Series S, X, PS5, and then you'd have to make it for the Pro models, right? The mid-gen kind of thing. So definitely kind of messy, and we'll see how it goes. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on tomorrow's video.